Anyone can predict the clearly set story arc that is presented throughout the majority of the gangster genre. A street-smart man determined to secure a position of power quickly works his way up to the top ranks of a gang, followed by a sudden and violent downfall, usually resulting in their death. This pattern can be observed in both Mervyn LeRoy's Little Caesar and Brian De Palma's Scarface, the two films we will be looking at today. In both films, the central character has a complicated narrative with their best friend that holds a significant relevance to the message of the gangster genre. We are going to analyze this narrative and discuss its relation to the central themes of individualism and desire for immortality explored in this class. First, let's talk more in depth about the purpose of the main character's journey. In Robert Warshaw's essay, The Gangster as a Tragic Hero, he discusses the archetype of the gangster film protagonist, a title I will reluctantly use to refer to Rico and Tony throughout this presentation. He states, "We are always conscious that the whole meaning of his career is a drive for success. The typical gangster film presents a steady upward progress followed by a very precipitate fall. And man is a being with the possibilities of success and failure. One must emerge from the crowd or else one is nothing." The following two scenes showcase the beginning of this cycle that Warshaw describes, as well as highlight the similarities between the two films in the context of their relationship with their best male friend. Both films feature a scene in which the main character and their best friend are discussing their futures while at a diner of sorts. Both heroes complain they feel their current financial and social status is beneath them, before expressing their strong craving for money and power and their willingness to use crime and violence to achieve it. Both main characters, Rico and Tony, display an obvious position of dominance over their best friend, and seem more willing to risk it all in their quest for power or success. In Tony's case, Manny just seems a bit more apprehensive about the danger side of things, but in Rico's, Joe wishes to quit crime altogether and chase success in an honest career. Tony and Rico have similar rises to power. They both join a gang, take advantage of their friend to further their career, betray their former boss, and display an unhealthy idea of success. Like we could have guessed, both characters climb the ranks and find themselves in a position of immense power and wealth. But as the conventions of the genre goes, and Warshaw confirms, there's only one possibility: failure. Both of them seemingly have everything they had wanted, and yet they are still not quite satisfied. Rico wants to overthrow the man who gave him his current position, and Tony is unfulfilled in his marriage with Elvira. Neither, however, has much time to worry about such things. Their lives are already fraught with danger and chaos, and both know, deep down, it cannot last. Furious at the realization that they will not always be the one on top, both look for something else to focus on, to regain a sense of control and point their anger towards. Both Tony and Rico resent themselves for achieving their goals and still being unhappy, and therefore decide to resent their friends for being happy while having less, because ultimately they know it was their journey for power that will inevitably lead to their death. Like Warshaw observes in his essay, the gangster's whole life is an effort to assert himself as an individual, to draw himself out of the crowd, and he always dies because he is an individual. The final bullet thrusts him back and makes him, after all, a failure. During the restaurant scene in Scarface, while Tony is insulting Elvira for not wanting kids, she says to Tony, "Are you even going to be alive by the time the kid goes to school?" throwing in his face how inevitable his downfall is. Additionally, everyone knows, as a gangster, it is dangerous to be alone. Through their rise to power, the central character comes to realize, as well as participate in, the high amounts of betrayal that takes place in their new lifestyle, as it is a necessary strategy to get to the top. Though both characters seem to believe it is just part of the natural order of things when they are the ones betraying their boss, this idea comes to bring them great paranoia at the height of their power. Warshaw writes, "No convention of the gangster film is more strongly established than this. It is dangerous to be alone, and yet the very conditions of success make it impossible not to be alone. For success is always the establishment of an individual preeminence that must be imposed on others." Rico and Tony have realized their own mortality and the fact that their power is not always going to be there. They are becoming aware of how unstable their lives are, and how few people they can really trust, so they take their frustrations out on their closest friend to further assert themselves as an individual, as well as a way of trying to prove to themselves that they will be fine without them, and, therefore, nothing can touch them. But really, they are kickstarting their own demise. In the interest of time, we will only be analyzing a scene from one of these films, Manny's death scene.
She got a place of her own. She don't tell me where. One night, I follow her in a taxi, and she goes to this fancy house in Coconut Grove.
Wolf, where'd you get that kind of money?
You were giving her the money. Don't you see what you do to her, don't you?
I don't give her that kind of money, Mama.
Oh, yes, you did. One time, $1,000 you gave her.
Okay. Was the guy with her?
I don't know. I don't know. There was this car in the driveway. I know if I go in there, she'd kill me. She's like you.
This guy, where's the place?
Here, the camera is slowly zooming in on Tony, symbolizing that he is coming to the realization of what is going on, and additionally only seeing it in how it relates to him.
She don't listen to me, no. She says to me, Mira, shut up. Mind your own business. Exactly like you do to me. Ever since you came back, she's been getting this way. Why do you have to hurt everything you touch? Why do you have to destroy everything that...
The color palette change from his mother's colorful house to the bleak-looking car represents the dark turn the plot is about to take. Additionally, the fact that Tony isn't driving the car can relate back to how, as Warshaw said, the gangster's downfall is inevitable. All forces around him are driving him, literally in this case, to that point towards his downfall. When he is looking out the window, we can see this again, how his journey to death is inevitable, and all he can do is sit back and watch. As we pull up to the house, the camera goes into a sweeping crane shot, raising over Tony, showing how he has left behind all of his sensible choices, and knows what he is going to do is a point of no return. Additionally, the exaggerated grandeur of the house just blatantly shows how much money and power they have, and the drastic contrast to where these two were when we were first introduced to them. Tony is silhouetted by the porch lighting, and the shots continue to show him exclusively from behind as he enters the mansion, almost as if the camera is ashamed of what Tony is about to do, and is expressing this by not showing his face. Though, this could also be interpreted as Tony not feeling as though he has control over his actions, and is merely watching them unfold in front of him. We get a quick shot of Tony's face as Manny greets him. The high-angle shot of Manny looking down at him conveys how the situation makes Tony feel small and emasculated. We shift into slow motion for Manny's final moments. The delighted look on his sister's face highlights the adverse emotions of resentment and anger on Tony's as we cut to a close-up. Manny starts to say something, but all sound drops out, leaving the score as an auditory representation of Tony's boiling rage at having his suspicions confirmed. Tony's anger lets loose, and he shoots Manny, but we don't get the expected shot of a gory wound. We get an extremely expressive reaction shot of Manny kneeling over. This shows how the scene is only about the dynamic between the three people in the room. We shift into a Dutch angle to show the disarray of his sister's feelings at this moment, and representing how Tony has just dramatically shifted and altered their lives. The camera tracks her rushing down the stairs, still slightly in slow motion, as she runs to embrace Manny's body. We dolly in on Tony as he watches this struggle, with no empathy for their relationship. We then go into a handheld shot, closer to Tony's perspective of the chaos. The sound rises back up to hear his sister crying, as she can't believe what he's done, but the static shots of Tony showcase his apathy, as he did what he felt needed to be done.
Jesus, Tony. Tony, we gotta get out of here, man. We gotta get out of here, Tony. We gotta go get you.
Tony seems detached and checked out of the situation after this, showing he realizes there is nothing he can do to prevent his inevitable fate. The handheld sways as the other men enter the room, help to convey the chaos and how unstable Tony is. In conclusion, this all relates back to the idea of how power wants to be eternal, but it is never possible. Rico and Tony want to regain a sense of control over their now extremely chaotic and uncontrollable lifestyle. They think this is what they are doing when they formulate the plan, but really, Rico and Tony betray their best friend as a way to self-destruct because they know they can't have it all. Thank you for watching.